What if I told you that some of the most effective ways to save money never show up in budgets, apps, or financial advice columns? They're not new, they're not trendy, and they're rarely talked about. Modern life teaches us to solve every inconvenience with a purchase. If something breaks, we replace it. If something feels off, we buy a product. If time feels tight, we pay for convenience. Over time, these small decisions become habits, and those habits quietly drain more money than most people ever notice. But for most of human history, people lived by a different logic. Households relied on simple, natural solutions that served multiple purposes at once. Farmers, soldiers, healers, and everyday families passed this knowledge down not as hacks, but as common sense. These weren't luxuries. They were practical tools for resilience, thrift, and independence. And here's what's interesting. Most of these practices didn't disappear because they stopped being useful. They disappeared because they couldn't be patented, branded, or scaled. They were too ordinary, too accessible, and eventually, convenience replaced competence. In this video, we're counting down 14 natural things that can save you far more money than you might expect. Not by cutting corners, but by changing how you think about everyday needs. By the time we reach number 11, you'll understand why it was once considered essential knowledge in nearly every home. And number 14 brings everything together, revealing a simple principle that explains why so many people feel like they're spending more while getting less. Stay with me through the list, because each one builds on the last. And if you appreciate calm, practical ideas that value long-term thinking over quick fixes, you may want to subscribe. This channel is about sharing knowledge that used to be common and is worth remembering. Number 1. Rainwater, sometimes called the forgotten utility. For most of human history, rain wasn't seen as something that merely fell and disappeared. It was collected, stored, and respected. Farmers planned around it. Households designed their homes to catch it. In many older cultures, knowing how to manage rainwater was just part of being competent. Modern research shows that untreated rainwater, when collected properly, can be suitable for many non-drinking uses: gardening, cleaning, washing tools, even flushing toilets. And those uses add up quietly on monthly bills. The reason it works is simple. Rain is already distilled by the atmosphere. When you redirect it instead of letting it run off, you reduce reliance on treated water for tasks that don't need it. Most people who use it start small. A basic barrel under a downspout. A simple gravity-fed setup for outdoor use. Nothing complicated. Nothing extreme. So why was it forgotten? Because municipal systems made it invisible. Water arrives instantly, effortlessly. So the idea of capturing your own feels unnecessary until you realize how often you pay for water that never needed to be processed in the first place. Think of rainwater like having a backup utility that turns on automatically. You don't notice it working. You just notice the savings. And once you see how much value comes from something literally falling out of the sky, it raises a question. What else did people once rely on that we now pay for every single month? Number 2, baking soda. Often called the silent multi-tool. Long before it lived in bright boxes under kitchen sinks, baking soda was a staple in households because it replaced dozens of separate products. Grandparents used it to clean cookware, neutralize odors, and maintain hygiene without needing a different solution for every task. Modern research shows that baking soda's mild alkalinity makes it effective at breaking down grease and neutralizing acids. That's why it works in places where harsh chemicals aren't necessary. People still use it in simple ways. A pinch for scrubbing sinks. A small bowl in the refrigerator. A gentle paste for tough residues. Nothing complicated and always easy to rinse away. So, why did it fade into the background? Because single-purpose products took over. One spray for glass. Another for ovens. Another for odors. Each one slightly more expensive, and all doing variations of the same job. Think of baking soda like a quiet assistant that never advertises itself. It doesn't look impressive, but it quietly replaces a shelf full of bottles. And once you realize one common household item can do the work of many, it leads naturally to the next question. What other basic things were never meant to be basic at all? Number 3, sunlight. sometimes called the original disinfectant. Before electricity was constant and climate control was automatic, people designed their lives around the sun. Clothes were dried outdoors. Homes were built to capture light. Even hospitals once placed beds near windows on purpose. Modern research suggests that sunlight can help reduce moisture and bacteria on fabrics and surfaces. It also naturally removes odors, no additives required. That's why line-dried clothes often smell clean in a way machines can't quite replicate. People who use this today keep it simple. Drying laundry outside when weather allows. Letting sunlight hit mattresses, rugs, or pillows occasionally. Opening blinds instead of flipping switches during the day. So why was it forgotten? Because machines made it optional. Dryers are fast. Lights are instant. And over time, the idea of waiting for the sun started to feel inefficient. Even though the cost quietly moved onto energy bills and appliance wear. Think of sunlight like a free service that still shows up every morning, whether you use it or not. And once you realize how much value comes from something we usually block out or rush past, it sets up the next idea perfectly. Because the next one isn't about energy or cleaning at all. It's about waste, and how much of it never needed to exist. Number 4, composting, often called the invisible recycler. For most of history, food scraps weren't trash. They were inputs. Farmers, gardeners, and even small households understood that what came from the soil could return to it, closing a loop instead of paying to break it. Modern research shows that composting reduces household waste and improves soil quality by returning nutrients that plants naturally use. Healthier soil holds water better, grows stronger plants, and reduces the need for purchased fertilizers. People who compost today usually start modestly. A small bin, a backyard pile, even a countertop container emptied regularly. No perfection required, just consistency. So why was it forgotten? Because trash removal made waste disappear. Once something is bagged and hauled away, it stops feeling like a resource. And when fertilizer comes in bags, the connection between food and soil fades. Think of composting like turning your trash bill into a store credit. You're not throwing value away. You're reinvesting it. And once you see how much you've been discarding without thinking, it naturally leads to the next idea. Because number 5 isn't about food scraps at all. It's about something people used to keep close, specifically for when money was tight. Number 5, vinegar, often called the liquid workhorse. Before it became a niche cleaning trend, vinegar was simply part of everyday life. Households kept it on hand because it preserved food, cleaned surfaces, removed buildup, and stretched supplies when nothing else was available. Modern research suggests that vinegar's acidity helps dissolve mineral deposits and break down certain residues. That's why it works so well on kettles, faucets, glass, and surfaces where buildup slowly accumulates. Most people who use it keep things straightforward. Diluted with water for cleaning. Heated gently for descaling. Used sparingly but regularly. So why did it fall out of favor? Because it doesn't smell engineered. It doesn't come with branding or specialized labels. And it competes with dozens of products designed to do just one thing at a higher cost. Think of vinegar like a universal adapter. It doesn't look impressive, but it connects to far more problems than people realize. And once you accept that one simple liquid can replace an entire aisle, the next question becomes unavoidable. What else did we stop using simply because it was too easy? Number 6, herbal infusions, often called the quiet pantry medicine. Long before pharmacies existed on every corner, people relied on plants they recognized and trusted. Families passed down knowledge about simple herbal infusions, not as cures, but as gentle, supportive tools used for everyday discomforts. Modern research suggests that many common herbs contain compounds that may support relaxation, digestion, or general comfort. That's why herbal teas remain widely studied and recommended as low-risk, supportive habits. People who use them today usually keep it simple. One herb at a time. Hot water. Short steeping. No complex formulas. Just routine use when it feels appropriate. So why was this knowledge pushed aside? Because modern life favors fast solutions. A packaged product feels more official than a plant in hot water. And over time, traditional use was reframed as old-fashioned instead of practical. Think of herbal infusions like having a calm, supportive option before reaching for something stronger. Not a replacement, just a first step. And once you see how much value comes from slowing down instead of reacting immediately, the next idea fits perfectly. Because number 7 isn't something you buy or brew. It's something people once fixed instead of replacing. Number 7, cloth napkins, often called the sustainable staple. Not long ago, families didn't throw away a single square of fabric after a meal. Cloth napkins were washed and reused for years, quietly saving money and reducing waste while maintaining hygiene. Soldiers, farmers, and households everywhere relied on them as a practical, multi-purpose tool. Modern research supports the environmental and economic benefits. Using cloth instead of disposable products reduces constant spending and decreases landfill waste. Even simple laundering keeps them sanitary, without harsh chemicals. People today use them by keeping a small set at the table. Wash and reuse. Fold neatly. It's simple, consistent, and surprisingly elegant. So why did cloth napkins disappear from daily life? Because convenience became king. Paper products promise speed, zero laundry, instant disposability, and subtly encourage a mindset of replace rather than preserve. Think of cloth napkins like a silent assistant that keeps working meal after meal. They don't shout, but they save quietly, one plate at a time. And once you notice how much value slips away when you trade reuse for convenience, it naturally leads to the next item. Number 8, the simple broom, sometimes called the backyard ER. Before vacuum cleaners dominated homes, a broom was more than just a way to sweep floors. Families used it to manage dust, pests, and debris, indoors and out. Farmers and gardeners knew that regular sweeping prevented problems before they became expensive repairs. Modern research shows that keeping surfaces clear of dust, dirt, and debris reduces wear on floors and furniture, improves indoor air quality, and even limits allergens. A clean environment often translates to fewer purchases for replacements or medical triggers. People today use it in the same timeless way: a daily sweep, a weekly deep clean, and even outdoor maintenance around walkways or patios. No electricity, no filters, just consistent, practical effort. So why was this knowledge forgotten? Because machines promise speed and effortless cleaning. Brooms felt outdated, manual, and low-tech. Yet the cost savings, both on energy bills and on replacing items prematurely, are often overlooked. Think of a broom like having a small, tireless guardian at home. It doesn't do everything for you, but it prevents problems before they escalate. And here's a thought. Once you realize how much simple maintenance can save, the next item on our list becomes even more powerful. Number 9, citrus peels, often called the natural cleaner and booster. Generations ago, people didn't throw away orange, lemon, or lime peels. They knew these scraps had uses beyond the kitchen. Farmers, homekeepers, and even apothecaries discovered that citrus could freshen, clean, and preserve. Modern research supports their effectiveness. Citrus contains natural acids and oils that can help break down grime, repel pests, and even act as a gentle deodorizer. Many people report that using peels reduces the need for chemical cleaners and air fresheners. Using them is simple. Keep peels after juicing. Dry or soak them. Add to vinegar for a cleaning solution, or simmer in water to freshen a room. It's effortless once incorporated into routine. So why did this get forgotten? Because convenience products stepped in. Commercial sprays, scented oils, and air fresheners replaced a resource that was literally free. Few thought to reuse what they already had. Think of citrus peels like a tiny powerhouse you toss every day without realizing it. One peel, multiple uses, zero cost. And here's where we pause for a brief community moment. If you've tried any of these natural methods or plan to, drop a comment below and share your experience. It's always fascinating to see which simple solutions people actually use. Number 10, drying herbs and spices, sometimes called a flavor and medicine bank. Before grocery stores stocked endless packaged options, families preserved their own herbs and spices, not just for taste, but for utility. Soldiers, travelers, and home cooks alike carried dried herbs because they lasted, saved money, and often supported digestion or mild ailments. Modern research shows that dried herbs retain many of their beneficial compounds and flavors, sometimes even concentrating them. Using your own supply reduces repeated purchases and keeps meals fresh, flavorful, and more satisfying, without added cost. People today use this by drying small batches at home, hanging basil, thyme, or mint in the kitchen, storing in jars, using daily in cooking, teas, or infusions. Simple, low maintenance, and effective. So why was it forgotten? Because prepackaged, ready-to-use products became faster, more uniform, and easier to market. People started equating convenience with quality, ignoring the hidden savings and freshness of doing it yourself. Think of drying herbs like having a small, private pantry that pays back every meal. Each pinch saved is a small victory against unnecessary spending. And now, as we move into number 11, things start getting truly surprising, because this is one that most modern households have completely overlooked, despite its immense potential to save. Number 11, eggshells, sometimes called the secret mineral booster. For centuries, households never tossed eggshells. Farmers, gardeners, and even grandmothers knew that what seemed like waste was actually a resource, packed with calcium and other minerals useful for plants and small livestock. Modern research supports this practice. Crushed eggshells can enrich soil, deter pests like slugs, and reduce the need for chemical fertilizers. Many gardeners report healthier plants and stronger yields, all from something they would normally discard. People use them simply: rinse, dry, crush, and sprinkle around garden beds or mix into compost. No chemicals, no expense, just one small step that repeats naturally. So why was it forgotten? Because convenience and disposability became the norm. Bags of synthetic fertilizers and commercial pest controls replaced simple, free solutions, even though those solutions work just as well, if not better, over time. Think of eggshells like hidden currency, something you already have can quietly boost your garden or your pocket without costing a cent. And once you realize the hidden value in things you normally throw away, the next item on the list starts to feel almost revolutionary. Number 12 is coming up next, and it's one of the items we teased in the beginning. This one might completely change how you think about everyday spending. Number 12, sun-dried laundry, sometimes called the energy-free dryer. This is the one we teased earlier, the practice your grandparents swore by, yet most modern households ignore. Before electric dryers, people relied on the sun to dry clothes, linens, and even bedding. It wasn't just about cleanliness. It was about saving money, energy, and effort in the long run. Modern research shows that sun-drying reduces electricity usage, preserves fabric integrity, and even naturally bleaches and disinfects fabrics. Many people report that clothes dried this way last longer and smell fresher, without chemical additives. Using it today is simple. Hang clothes on a line or drying rack whenever the weather allows. Rotate items for even drying. Avoid synthetic fabrics that trap moisture, but otherwise, it's a zero-cost, low-effort habit. So why was it forgotten? Because dryers made life faster. Instant results replaced patience, and the hidden cost of electricity bills or shortened clothing lifespan went unnoticed. The convenience seemed worth it, until you realized the money lost over time. Think of sun-drying laundry like having a small, silent assistant that works daily without asking for anything in return. It saves energy, money, and even extends the life of your clothes, all while doing something natural and sustainable. And once you notice how much value could be reclaimed from something as simple as the sun, the next few items start to feel almost astonishing. Number 13 is next, and it's where things truly escalate in terms of both practicality and savings. Number 13, pennyroyal and other aromatic herbs, sometimes called the overlooked protector. For centuries, households used aromatic herbs not just for flavor, but for natural protection, repelling insects, masking odors, and keeping living spaces healthier. Soldiers on long campaigns and farmers working in barns relied on them to reduce pests without expensive chemicals. Modern research suggests that many aromatic herbs contain compounds that naturally deter insects and can improve indoor air quality. While not a substitute for modern pest control, they reduce the need for sprays, traps, or other purchase solutions, quietly saving money and effort. People use them today in simple ways. hanging bundles near windows, scattering dried leaves in corners, or simmering them in water for gentle fumigation. No risk, minimal cost, and multifunctional. So why was this knowledge forgotten? Because chemical alternatives became branded, marketed, and convenient. The quiet power of a simple herb bundle couldn't compete with flashy bottles promising instant results. Yet the herb requires no electricity, no repeated purchases, and no synthetic ingredients. Think of aromatic herbs like a natural insurance policy. Small, low maintenance, and remarkably effective once you know how to use them. And now, we arrive at number 14, the final item and the perfect conclusion to this list. It ties everything together and reveals the ultimate principle behind all these forgotten, money-saving treasures. Number 14, the humble garden, sometimes called the ultimate profit printer. This is the one that ties everything together. For centuries, people didn't just grow food, they grew independence, security, and resilience. Families, soldiers, and entire communities relied on small plots of land to supply nutrition, herbs, and even natural remedies. Every seed planted was a small investment with exponential returns. Modern research shows that home gardening reduces grocery bills, improves access to fresh produce, and can even enhance well-being and mental health. People report that the act of growing their own food makes them more mindful about consumption, waste, and spending overall. Using it today doesn't require acres of land. Even a small balcony, windowsill, or backyard plot works. Herbs, vegetables, and some fruits can thrive with minimal input, providing continuous returns on very little investment. So why was this forgotten? Because urbanization, supermarkets, and convenience culture made food production feel distant. It's easier to buy than to grow, and many overlook the hidden cost of convenience. Money spent, nutrients lost, and the satisfaction missed. Think of a garden like a personal bank that never devalues. Every seed grows not just food, but knowledge, savings, and independence, reminding us that the most valuable resources are often the simplest. And that brings us full circle. What if I told you that reclaiming just a few of these practices could quietly transform how you spend, save, and live? The knowledge your grandparents once took for granted isn't lost. It's waiting to be rediscovered. Which one of these 14 natural tools surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you found value in this, consider subscribing and joining a community that shares forgotten, practical knowledge worth keeping alive. Because sometimes the simplest solutions end up being the most powerful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.